hand and will boldly go to the final frontier for your unique gift. Head over to geekrenaissance.company.site and use the code FLOBITO, that's FLOBITO, to get 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow, like, and share Geek Renaissance on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Oh, yes, this is Flobo, Boys Chief Communications Officer of the USS Post Show, but it's not about me. It's about the captain. Look alive, because Captain is on the bridge. What's going on, Captain?
Hello, Flobo. Hello, everybody who's joining us. Thank you for doing so.
Another week with Captain John Weber. How was everything going? Everything's good? We did the rounds. Inspections 125%.
You know, having given up my beard as I did, as you know, an ultra powerful universe controlling entity put us all in danger, and I had to sacrifice my beard.
Sacrifice?
Yeah.
Will it come back, or is it gone forever?
Well, you don't remember because there's a missing 5 hours. So you don't remember any of this. Hi, Kirsten. Beard. Kirsten says hello.
Hey, give the Kirsten Marie supported the show, supported tremendous long.
Yeah, man. I'm good. You know, I've been working on a little project that Flobo and I will present to you this Sunday on Starbase 80.
Wait, we are?
I have a whole new approach to doing Starbase 80 now.
Uh-oh. Remix.
Watch the show.
Okay.
Take notes.
That's something I always do.
Find the story. Where is the story?
Oh, we're going to film school, I see. Okay.
Yes.
That's plot. What's the story? Shout out to Bill Dill, who was my cinematography teacher, who shot the movies such as Jason Goes to Hell and Babs. But continue.
Damn! Oh, that's awesome. Actually, those are both awesome movies. Yeah, you know, honestly, I've learned so much. Actually, like in the last few years, which is crazy because I've done less as a performer and as a creator in many ways in the last few years, but more in many other ways. So, you know, in terms of getting Hollywood work, we were talking about this a little bit in the past. In terms of getting Hollywood work, you know, it can get a little rough when you hit a certain age, or you know, you age out of this kind of person, you become that kind of person, to directors and casting and all that. Yeah. But I'm learning a lot more about going beyond just the package here, the beard or whatever. And a director I'm working with right now has a great line, which is tell the truth.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, you're telling a story. A story is characters and actions. It's as simple as that. Great, huge ideas that have never been done before, that's not that important.
Yeah.
It's not that important. And that actually happens. Craig Robinson is with us. Hello, Craig.
Welcome aboard, Craig.
Greg. Craig. Ta. I think that's a greeting over in the UK.
Ta.
Cheers. Oh, cheers is always good. Cheers, Craig. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.
My family would just say good night when they walk in the door. Good night. Hey, what's going
on? Joe Townsend says Riker tried shaving off his beard once, didn't take. Although John is a handsome devil either way. Well,
he sure is. Oh my gosh. I was on that before we went live today. Let's talk about this episode. The Elysian Kingdom, episode 8 of a 10-episode season of Strange New Worlds. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, before we get into the brass tacks, before we get into the grains of everything, question at the top of the bow, Captain. Thoughts about the episode overall?
I keep thinking that this show is one thing, and then they keep breaking that.
I keep forgetting there ain't no more. I keep forgetting.
Man, Michael McDonald is the best. Did you know growing up and listening to Doobie Brothers?
Yeah.
I always thought listening to Doobie Brothers, I'm like, oh, these are like Southern guys, right? And they're probably black and they're probably like from New Orleans or something.
Yeah.
And did you ever think the lead singer was a white dude from
I
Texas?
got that one right, but I will swear to you to this day, I swear Rick Astley is still black. There's a black guy back behind the stage dubbing over his lines. I could have sworn that was a brother.
Oh,
no, it has to be a black dude.
you know the one that breaks people's brains, which I love because it's actually pretty good, is oh my God. I think it's Dan Hartman. It's from the Streets of Fire soundtrack in the 80s. I can dream about you.
Yeah, that blue-eyed soul,
baby. I can hold you just right. Little tiny white guy, man.
Yeah, but you're sorry, it's off track. But you were saying about the formula of the show, which is kind of interesting because it is an episodic program. So what you're saying about that?
Well, I mean, there's a certain seriousness that the series starts with. And that's kind of common to us viewers of the new Trek shows. There's a certain, tragedy and like gravitas that everyone is forced to carry in Picard, in Discovery. And so far, the very beginning of Strange New Worlds had a lot of that. So La'an Noonien Singh is carrying this great, emotional weight. Captain Pike carrying this tremendous emotional weight. Dr. M'Benga, we find out, probably not, it wasn't in the first episode when we find out about his daughter. But there's like these secrets and these dark, cores to these people. And then you'll have an episode like Spock Amok. It's just wacky.
Yeah. All the whack. Yeah.
And this one, okay, it's doing the thing that I love right now that really good science fiction is doing. And it happened in the movie Dune.
Okay.
Which came out just recently. It's happening in The Man Who Fell to Earth, which I don't think I've discussed with you at all, but I've been watching it. It's on Showtime. It is an Alex Kurtzman. Am I getting that name right?
Probably.
It is the executive producer of this show, is the executive producer of The Man Who Fell to Earth. And dude, it is amazing. Like I don't know that many people who have Showtime. We do at my house because my sister just insists on having it. And the benefit, the benefit of that is I never saw this show coming. I never said, oh yeah, I definitely am looking forward to it. And now that I'm watching, it's like one of the best sci-fi shows on right now. It is fantastic. So
yeah,
I love kind of the seriousness and the gravitas that's going on with these shows. When they break it could piss me off.
What?
For some reason, it doesn't.
You said it could. Why it could? I don't understand.
Because there is a part of my brain that is that canon cop.
Yeah. Because how the episodes I hate objectively, I hate them all. But you're saying it could be bad, and it's not bad. So, like, how does that work?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out if I've changed or if Star Trek has changed. Mm-hmm. I like things. I like a place for everything and everything in its place as a fussy sci-fi fan. And yet, when something like Strange New Worlds keeps mixing it up on me.
Mm-hmm.
And like what it was two episodes ago, La'an Noonien Singh is funny. All of a sudden, she's funny.
Why do you say so disgusting? She was funny for a change.
That's my thing. That's not her thing. You don't get to be pretty and funny. And guess what?
Right.
In this episode, she is pretty and funny. She's
wow,
hilarious!
I thought you would have hated that. Okay,
I did too. I'm watching and I'm going, why isn't this making me angry?
Yeah.
And honestly, I can sum it all up very quickly.
Do it.
And that is
jump around. We've all seen the episode.
The quality of the performances are so good that in this one, I'll just say this. Everyone gets caught in a situation where, due to powers beyond their control, they are forced to behave like characters from a storybook. And they behave in a silly way. And I just loved it. It just made me so happy. I guess I've seen enough of Strange New Worlds that I know what normal is, so that now when they go abnormal, I can appreciate it, and it's funny.
I tease
Really
you,
good
Captain,
episode.
but I'm with you. I think that there's a part of me that was kind of like, oh, here we go, another of these wacky zany episodes. Only the first season. Usually that's a season 2 or season 3 thing, but they're coming at you fast. But you know what? Like, everyone played against type enough for me to go, okay, I totally get everything. So just get a little backstory in, because that will give us more time to talk about the random stuff of this episode. It seems that M'Benga is trying to get closer to find a cure for what's assailing his daughter, when ultimately I thought it seemed that he was inhaling the wrong kind of chemicals, but it was a twist, baby. And a book comes to life. Question off the top, though. It was a story that was new to me. I think it was completely fictional for this world. Did that bother you, or did the episode do enough of a good job to get you along the ride to understand what's going on in the world and the story and what's happening on screen?
Yes, excellent question. Yes, to the second thing. I don't like but if this happens, then that happens, because I don't know that. I didn't read the book. And as far as I know, this never would have been an actual book. Like, I don't know that you achieved anything in the story that you're pretending exists. So it made me nervous. I will say that. It's like, oh, is it going to be one of those stories where you just have to keep explaining things to me over and over again because I don't know what the story is, making reference to something about which I'm completely ignorant. That's not fun. Lead me in with things that I kind of know and I kind of understand.
Oh yeah, you know how you have a Starbase 80. Wait, what's a Klingon? Who's a Gorn? Was it Prime Directive of General Order 1? Someone let me know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good comparison. It's like when you've tried to watch Picard, you didn't get most of those references.
Oh yeah.
So it's a hollow experience.
Absolutely. I made abundantly clear why Discovery Season 2 had to do what it did. But for a new fan, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't for me anymore. And so I had to have the spark notes, have the pros on one column and the original text in another column. Understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Why are view screens such a problem? Oh, because some fans complained view screens didn't appear in season 1. That makes sense, right? Like, it just became this whole thing.
Right. I mean, it's a downfall of fandom, and it's actually quite funny that they put us in the situation as the viewers. So even the most, salty old viewer like me is still like, wait, who's that now? What's happening? Wait, why is Spock bad? Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, I would say that you're sweet, not salty. And I'm a softie.
A softie.
So here's the thing. Hey, yo, what I'm talking over here? He's a softie.
Mr. Softie over here. Yeah.
Okay, kids are running around the street. Actually, my neighborhood was more of a good humor truck neighborhood, but Mr. Softie is an institution. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
So M'Benga has this thing that I thought was going to be solved. And we'll jump around here. Spoilers for those of you who are listening who have not seen the episode. Please watch the episode before we get into this one, because I want to go to the end. I want to go to the end first. Yeah. For the longest time on this show, Commander's Log, the premier one-stop shop for new Trek, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek New Worlds, we were kind of theorizing that maybe whatever was going to happen between M'Benga and Zukia would be the reason why M'Benga is not the chief medical officer of the Enterprise when Kirk takes command. But it seemingly got resolved towards the end. If you want to go into detail, you can. But is that throw a wrench into plans? Do you think it's still going to be a thing that will get M'Benga demoted, or will it be more voluntary as things go on?
Well, let's remember a lesson we've learned from watching Discovery is your favorite doctor does not have to be chief medical officer.
That's true.
You don't, your hero doesn't have to be the boss. Your hero can be a really, incredibly talented, deep talent like Michael Burnham, like Dr. Culber. Dr. Culber is not chief medical officer. He's actually who I was thinking of at first.
Right, absolutely.
But we love him. Absolutely love him. And that's a good question. Joe Townsend asks, still possible the Dr. Mabenga getting trouble for hiding Rukia in a transporter buffer and not telling anyone until he's found out.
Yeah.
Is there a statute of limitations? Asked Joe Townsend. Yeah, we don't know.
So my gut reaction is to say, oh, that's so bureaucracy. But then what is Starfleet really? Like,
Yes.
what is United Federation of Planets with bureaucracy and rules and all that stuff? So you're probably right.
On one of the Star Trek groups on Facebook, I saw that entire stupid ass conversation happen where somebody was saying, now you and I on Starbase 80, we have not yet watched the Captain Jellicoe episodes.
We have not.
From Next Generation. And Captain Jellicoe is a by the book, boring, bureaucratic leader. And it's so funny, all of the people who take his side and go, he was a great leader, and in the military, you follow him no matter what, you don't question, blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't what people were talking about. People aren't talking about your duty to follow an officer. Yes, you have that duty. What people wanted to talk about, and that's a very real thing, is that some people in leadership are not particularly talented.
Fair enough. Yeah. They
have rules. They have, the definition of the job. They have military experience. They have, they went by the book. Those people advance just as often as the risk takers, the imaginative, your Picards, your Kirks, your Pikes. They're all in the same stew. And you have to accept that sometimes you get a nice chunk of meat, like a Captain Pike, and sometimes you get a potato, like a Captain Jellicoe.
That's deep, man. Are you potato or are you meat? Are you like a vegetable?
I'm all meat, man. All meat. Rancid, in fact. You might have to cut some pieces off me. The butcher did not remove the fat. I'm just going to say that. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyce. You go.
Well, we did say you're a softie, but now you're saying you're marbled as well. That's great.
I'm marbled. Fat means flavor.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. So I gotta ask, and I don't do this to make fun of you, but I like to say that you are the conscience of our show, right? You're a captain that leads with his heart. How many times did you tear up in this one, man? Seeing the resolution of what Zakia could be, being one with the Nebula at the end of this episode.
Okay. All right. Do you ask me that because you would ask anyone that? Or do you ask me that knowing that I cry really easily?
You know what? I'll give you full context. So I for one was not a fan of the Mega storyline going into this episode. I felt that there was many. It wasn't bad necessarily, but too many beats were repeated, and to the point where when Una was like, "Take some rest," I was like, "Really? You brought her back to be another side quest character and to just be bureaucratic?" But it has a resolution now, and I wouldn't say I teared up, but I was like, "Oh." I guess that's a cool way of ending it, seeing someone off into the afterlife without having an afterlife. I would cry here if I had any emotion, but you have emotion, so I want to know how you felt.
I'm crying just remembering crying. I cried so hard. Oh my God. Craig Lubin says leaders who say I versus we as an example. Former is a boss, latter is a leader.
It's funny because when you read that with Craig's picture next to it, he sounds so smug about it. Leaders is I versus we, for example. Okay, smart man, Craig.
Craig's a super smart guy. He totally never fakes the funk when it
He's
comes
gonna calculate my beat down when he sees me. Not what you're saying.
Well, I don't know all of what it is. What's that episode where the genius little kid alien comes on board? We just watched it. It's
where suffering cannot reach, or something along those lines.
That's like the shortened version of it.
Yeah.
lift me up, lift us up to where
suffering cannot reach. It's like, was someone give me the actual title on that?
Yeah. I'm so sorry I made you guess that. I should have looked it up myself, but I am so lazy. Well, in that episode, the super smart kid does some quick, detective work and figures out that there might be somebody in the transporter buffer, and he he basically, reintegrates. He basically transports Rukia.
Lift us where suffering cannot reach. Confirmed.
Yeah. And so the two of them are playing and just having some nice time together. Viewers' challenge for this episode of Commander's Log, says Joe Townsell, is make Captain John cry on camera.
What do we get? No, but it was a tender moment. In all seriousness, it was a tender moment. Being able to see your child off, and then some would say it's kind of cheating, though. Having Zakiya be an adult saying, "You made the right decision, Dad. I'm okay. I've learned and I've grown. Thank you so much for letting me go."
It's funny. I thought that too, and yet there is actually in Star Trek a fairly common trope of child being aged magically. It happens to the Keiko O'Brien family. It happens to Molly. It happens in one of the in the episode where Q gives his powers to Riker, and Riker shows us the grown-up Wesley Crusher, because Wesley really wishes he was an adult to match his intellect, and that would help him. And of course they use some, bodybuilder soap opera actor who doesn't look anything like the grown-up.
You best believe if I ever have a flashback, the guy who plays him, he's going to have rippling abs. I don't see why they wouldn't. That is a requirement.
That's true. That's true. I'd be like, it's okay if he has curly hair, but just as long as he's got beautiful shoulders and a chest on him. That's what, and not this double chin. Yeah, I mean, it's funny to me that that they bring that back here, but it also makes sense in the science fiction sense of, she's friends with a nebula god, and the nebula god basically goes, "Hey, let's go do stuff for like," how old was that woman as the grown-up Rukia?
Like late 20s?
Late 20s, I'd say. I mean, a very mature adult, a real adult. And she's happy and she's okay. And honestly, maybe it's that I'm the age of so many grandparents. But I saw that and I went, wait, no, I needed this. Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed to know she was okay. I needed to know that being taken from her father wasn't a terrible thing for her.
Yeah.
And the fact that she could go back, and she did. That's all I needed. So yeah, I mean, it's, it can be argued that this is hokey and that this is storybook ending. Storybook ending. But I was happy with it. I didn't feel like they made me accept more things than I was ready to accept.
One of the cool things about Star Trek is that, well, when it's hitting, sometimes when it misses, it's a whole different thing. When it's hitting, you can draw parallels to any kind of belief system to it, whether you are agnostic or so. So to have, if you were to take a Judeo-Christian take on what happened in this episode of being with an entity that resembles the ancestors or mother or Deborah, literally, it is kind of like going to heaven if you believe in that concept. So it was kind of cool to see. And so, I mean, granted, the definition from a Boltzmann brain was kind of awkwardly thunked into the exposition of the script, but it helped me understand what the hell was going on. So I was, because there was a time in there where I thought the consciousness was Zakiya, and that would be another story altogether.
Right.
I thought that would have been too paint by numbers. It'd be like, it's her consciousness. Let's get her back in the pattern buffer.
Yeah, and that would be classic Trek too. Like, oh, the powers are out of control because she's so young. That's very Star Trek. They've done
very
that.
Su'Kal.
Yeah, and that's right. Very recent with Su'Kal. Yeah, good point. I mean, the good news here is she doesn't have to be alone. Oh God, I'm gonna cry again, because Dr. M'Benga's dilemma is so layered and so tragic. He can only call her out of the transporter for short amount of time, and every time he does that, she dies more. And he's bearing this incredible lonely secret that Una knows, and Una is really cool. This is another thing that I didn't realize we were going to get here. I love Rebecca Romijn's character. I love how she plays her. Number one in my book. Actually, technically number 3. I like Pike and Spock more, but that's
I
just me as a
disagree.
fan.
She's wallpaper, man. She has
Oh,
not done
really?
she has not done anything that were she did not exist. You can give those lines to Ortega's and it'd be the same exact show. Let's be real.
Well, you've got I hear what you're saying, but I can't quite agree because there is a Kevin Richardson says the Young and the Restless boarding school effect. I loved it.
Capital loved.
There's a I get a sense that they take advantage of us as fans a little bit, but I kind of expect that. That's okay. That doesn't upset me. Does that address the problem? I kind of forgot what I was saying.
It doesn't address the problem quite yet, but Kevin says something that's really cool. Making Una no nonsense but not heartless is great. Most shows don't get that mixed right. So my issue is with the character Una is fantastic. I think number one, understanding the role of being the executor of Pike when need be, but like Pike, understanding there is some nuance there is fantastic. I guess my concern as a fan, 8 episodes in now, that as for someone who's deemed a number 1, it is non-essential. It's like being on Starbase 80 and there's 2 guests in the show and I'm there too. The 2 guests and John are just so well into Star Trek. I'm just kind of going, and it's kind of like you don't really need me there, right? That's why I feel like Una could have been used a lot more. Maybe she has her own stories we haven't really scratched the surface on. Maybe season 2 will have it. But I never feel like she's essential to a plot like I have like with the Spock episodes or even with the Uhura storyline.
Right, I hear you. And I do want to remind you of something that Chris Pitcher says. Greeting, gents. Just dropped by to say hi, hello, Mr. Pitcher.
Oi.
The thing about Una so far is they're kind of showing that she is redundant. And I get being disturbed by that. That is not how you make a TV show where you go, we got an extra captain over here. She pretty much can do whatever the captain does, but he does it so she doesn't have to. Moving on. Like, I get that. We got a little bit of her backstory that she is an alien, that she's not human. She is enhanced, which is against the rules in Federation. And they are kind of hiding her out. They are kind of like, hey, you'll take her away from us over our dead bodies.
Absolutely.
Kevin Richards says, agreed. They need to make Ina feel essential. Kevin Richardson is nailing it today.
Downtown, Kevin Richardson can't be stopped. He's on fire.
And I do see that coming up. What they're doing right now is they're using people stories about people. As you know, that's one of my bugaboos with television writing. It's like what people think is interesting about television plots is telling us people stories, but we are specifically watching a sci-fi show. So sure, I'm happy to see a people story, but I need my sci-fi. I need ray guns or galaxies or nebulae or whatever it is. And I am feeling that I get that with Strange New Worlds.
Well, as we go through the hallucination, the fantasy, and even though I have my personal favorites in hot Happy Nurse Chapel and Evil Queen Uhura, let's take a look at this. Ortega's is Sir Ardia, Pike is Sir Amand, and Vega's King Ridley, Indian Singh is Princess Dahlia, Hemmer's Wizard, Castor, Spock is Pollux, Uhura is Queen Nev, and Una is Ymir the Huntress. Any one of those characters really stuck out for you? You mentioned Indian Singh, but anyone else stick out for you in their new forms in this fantasy?
I do love. I don't know that everyone who likes Hemmer feels this way, but I do feel like, oh, good, a good Hemmer episode.
Wow. He's only been like in 3 of them, though.
And that's the thing. Like, but he was a hyped character, and I'm a fan of Andorians. I think Andorians are super cool.
You are. You have an Andorian, like, not a fetish, but like a fascination, I think.
Absolutely.
Like me with the Barzan people.
I have made Flobo watch so many episodes of Enterprise that have Shran in them. And Flobo, as far as I could tell, you're just like, okay. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's Shran, it's Shran, it's Shran.
You know, if on Discovery, if like Commander Non shows up, we're doing a 2-hour episode. So I get it. It's not my cup of tea, but I totally understand. To each his own.
But I actually, I'm taking a look at the Kevin Richards says in chat, where was Hemmer last week?
Vacation.
And that's the thing. They're very much recurring with Hemmer, and that's fine. That's fine because I assume he'll be a regular, if not now, in the future. I do like the character. I want the character to do so much more. But Joe Townsend brings up kind of where my feelings were. Pike and La'an were the standouts in the fantasy story. And I think because the actors were like, wait, I get to do what? Well, then I'm going to do it 100%.
Yeah.
So Captain Pike's character becomes this like, butt kissing toady who's scared of everything.
Which is amazing to me because I can't remember me watching a lot of late period ends and Mount stuff. So I thought he was just playing himself as Pike. But to have him play something different makes you appreciate Pike more. I'm just kind of
Right.
like, oh, I'll totally deal with some mitts. Like, who says that? Like, what are you doing? Pike wouldn't do that.
When we watched The Naked Now, which is an old The Next Generation episode, it was early in TNG that they did it, and yet there is Patrick Stewart who's established this very stick up the butt, very no nonsense captain, really kind of a gruff leader, and yet he's doing all this silly stuff. And
yeah.
I love that. That is the mark of a great actor to me, is someone who goes, oh, I get to do something different. Well, I'm really going to do it. I'm going to freaking nail it. The thing I loved about Pike was his hair's parted down the middle.
Right.
And he's just like this. And that's so not Pike, who's got the hard part in the hair with all that stuff. It's a big Mount Everest of hair. And he's just a big, strapping captain.
I'm also jealous of guys with salt and pepper fox like yourself. But I want to say, even though I was trashing on Dr. Aspen last week when she turned evil horror kind of makes sense because it was a fantasy world. So
Right.
Please stop with the hate mail being like, why you be liking evil Uhura but hate evil Aspen? I'm just saying because it's totally done for laughs here. But Kevin Richardson says, I love that you could tell the actors are having a blast. You can almost hear them say, and we get paid for this. A score.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't know how many episodes they recorded before this one, but let's just assume they went in order. And this is the 8th episode?
Yeah,
Flo?
10 episode season, episode number 8.
Right. So they've established these characters, and also, Pike and Spock were already established from Discovery anyway. So we've got this incredible, fun, this incredible break that they get.
Yeah.
And yes, you know what? I'm totally overlooking the evil Queen Uhura. She was amazing.
And hopefully she's single. Wink.
As far as I know.
John's like, she's evil, bro. Yeah, and
no, I would let you date an evil queen.
Totally. Thanks, John. You get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in a dungeon. Why didn't you stop me?
Pick up the shield, pick up the sword. Let's go pick up my friend.
So let's talk about funny characters real quick, because the two characters I want to see head to head, which we prefer. Would you prefer another episode spin-off of Ortega's character, Sir Arja? Sword swinging, having a good time with Zamir the Huntress because they know each other really well. Wink. Or Discovery's Mira Reese. That's the other character you love so much.
Wow. Yeah, because this did remind me of a Mirror episode in some ways too. Wow. I mean, I think the Mirror episodes are always going to win for me because these people have lived their entire lives being evil. And going through the circumstances that they've gone through. And Reese is a perfect example. And I wish I could remember the actor's name off the top of my head, but he had a backstory for his character, which made his character what it was, which was he came up through the ranks as a drug dealer. Freaking love. It's so not Star Trek.
Right.
But it's so much of the story that he was a part of. And he just plays that. He plays that so beautifully. So I love that kind of sustained character. These characters I didn't feel were sustained. I wouldn't be happy to see any of these characters back, except for Rakia and Deborah.
You don't
who
want to
are
hear
in
an
our
you don't want to hear an epic song of mourning. No? You want to hear that?
her. I loved her in this. I have given that actress so much crap.
Oh, you have. I wish I had a supercut at the ready, like a clip of like you being like, oh, and saying, oh, baby con, oh, she tries too hard.
Why does a little girl's mood have to determine the plot of my show?
Sweet rocking chair, the Cracker Barrel there, John. No, I totally get it.
Well, I mean, what she does in this episode actually is put every one of my insults on its head by basically playing Paris Hilton in space.
Yeah.
And she's hilarious at it. So I think actually this goes and proves she needs to work on her serious characters a little more.
I hear you. I'm with you with that.
And as a director, I'm a theater director, but if I were working with her, I'd be like, I hope you always remember how good you are at this.
Wait, hold on. You just can't drop the nugget that you're a theater director and just walk away from that. You are a director of the live arts and entertainment, sir.
I've directed some theater, and I'm gonna direct some more. I used to teach back when I was in New York. I taught sketch writing classes, and a lot of my students went on to become comedy writers, although they were always going to become comedy writers. It's not because of me, but I definitely gave them a stage and a show that I directed them in. Yeah. I've also directed a bunch of improv groups and crap like that. But I mean, as far as theater.
You know what, Captain? You're going to send me to the break, but how dare you? How did you come in with all this lifetime of Star Trek knowledge of acting and directing and comedy and professional wrestling and performing and be like, I'm just a dumbass. I don't really know anything. That's terrible. You're an expert many times over, Captain.
Here's the problem.
Toot your own horn, damn it. I was going to do it for you.
If you weren't doing this right now, I had a plan.
What
for when people would know that I was good at all these things, and that would be during my eulogy.
So you're gonna throw a smoke bomb at life just to avoid saying that you can do well?
Well, I mean, look, you know how it is because you live in LA. I mean, if you're not successful by other people's standards, you're not successful.
Put him in the brig. Put him in the brig. Put him in the brig.
Okay, now, but look, with Emmer, please.
So I'm gonna say something real quick. Even though I kind of make fun of it because it is kind of a footnote of American history, and that is Homeboys in Outer Space, which you
good lord,
which you appear in the pilot, and you didn't appear in the episodes thereafter. No. But as a kid, where there weren't many of us in space, right? And Men in Black was my favorite movie. Homeboys in Outer Space was appointment viewing. It was something to sit down and watch people like me to do things. And you were a part of that. You are legendary. And you go on this show being like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm just a little captain. I don't think so. Whatever. Shut up. I won't accept this. You're a pro. You're a pro, dang it.
When sitcoms pretty much took a hit because of reality television, and don't get it twisted, there was an actor strike. Between, right around 2000. In 2000, there was an actor strike. And because of the actor strike, that pushed reality television, which was already doing really well over in the UK. That pushed it over on these shores even more. And it actually got so bad that a lot of sitcoms just didn't get renewed and just were lost to time. When sitcoms were king, there were black sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
You had Homeboys in Outer Space, for example. Homeboys in Outer Space, the Hughleys, Wayans Brothers, and I appeared on all of these shows. And my kind of comedy really melds in well with a black sitcom. There's no judgment there. It's true. My sense of humor does pretty well with black folks. and black
Thanks.
executive producers and black directors and black casting people. And yeah, white people don't like me that much.
Yeah, I can relate. I feel the same thing, bro. That golf club, that country club style, I get it.
And I don't know what it is. I think it's a little bit what you experience, Flobo, which is like, well, you're not usual, you're not typical, but also I fear that maybe you have enormous genitals, and I'm very offended by that, and I'm not going to hire you. And
Right.
I think that's why I didn't get hired as much. I mean, really, when you're a tall, strapping man like I am, people resent that. Just like when you are a handsome, strapping man like Flobo Boys.
Oh, stop. You got to make me cry on this episode.
But I had a lot of shots, and actually Flobo deserves shots. So if you're out there and you're in show business, help out Mr. Boyce, would you?
Yeah, man. All I want's a manager, man. Just get me some bookings. My favorite quote of the week now, I gotta move on before it makes it too awkward, is when Mbega gets to the bridge the first time and he's seeing what's going on, and he's like, "This is a kind of joke." And the Pike goes, "Hold the jester," which I thought was pretty cool, because imagine a court jester in space. Like, what does that even mean?
I wanted that jester to come in. Who's the jester?
Yeah, is it Kyle? I thought it'd be Kyle.
Gotta be Kyle. Kyle's the only guy who wasn't represented on the show, as far as I know. Where's Kyle?
Right. So let's talk about it before we wind us down, about the concept of this sentient being, the Boltzmann brain, the nebula that ends up curing in a certain way Zakir, right? Just out there in space, this all-knowing entity that's able to pull from a consciousness and to apply a reality. I kind of wanted more. I kind of wanted a little bit of that discovery treatment where it becomes like a part of a race that does that. Do you think that will happen again, or are we kind of a victim of a one-off episode structure here?
I mean, it is such a sort of bare explanation. And it's not an unheard of concept at all. There has always been the idea that maybe consciousness without physicality does exist.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, I mean, going back to the Judeo-Christian look at creation and all of that, we usually put it off to some kind of supreme being, some kind of all-powerful being. Yeah. And, I would love more of an explanation of this kind of consciousness, because there is a theory that this exists. So to make it just the answer to a question, yeah, I agree with you. It's a little like, I kind of feel like maybe you skimmed that one a little, but it saved our little girl Rakia, so that's what I wanted.
Yeah. So as it is right now, barring something different or changing, there's about 2 episodes left in the season. I know these 2 episodes don't seem to be on any course to be part 1 or part 2 of anything. Is there anything that you want to see? Is there anything you've seen that you're kind of missing or lacking from the relationships in season 1 that you want to be addressed in the next 2 episodes?
Well, 2 episodes. Here's how I would do it.
Tell me.
There is the great tradition. It was started during The Next Generation of there being a 2-parter that ends the season.
Mm-hmm.
So the very final episode of the season is part 1, and then the debut of the next season is part 2. I would like to see that. I would like for us to move forward with the Cybok versus Spock plot. That would be interesting. Look, the really great Stan is going to happen with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock Enterprise Amok Time. That's primo Stan. If Stan is working behind the scenes, I would be excited. But we can't have confrontations with Stan yet. Stan has yet to happen. So the fact that he's around now, I'm kind of happy with that. But Cybok, who knows what can happen with Cybok? That's an untested idea in this universe, this version of the universe. So who knows?
Gotta give a shout out to our chat. Thank you so much for watching live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn until they tell us otherwise. Karen Richardson says, we better see Minnie Mbega again, her kissing her daddy goodbye, maybe
Seriously.
cry her like a baby.
Yep.
Mbega's next shortly better be no, but now I've never had kids, and barring a miracle, I won't have any of my own. Oh, thank goodness. But I bet if I had a child wishing me goodbye like the way she did, I'll probably be crying as well. And
Oh,
Kevin
man.
continues. I bet James Kirk is in season 1 finale. I wouldn't pull that trigger personally, but you know what? This show does things fast and loose, baby.
We know there will be a Kirk. They have completed season 2, I think, and Kirk has been mentioned in that, like the actual handsome James Kirk, not his shifty Weasley brother.
Yeah, I wonder. Do you think it's gonna be 5 seasons of those 5 years, or do you think there's gonna be like more seasons for that years, or did you have to guess?
I would guess the original plan is 5 years, and then once you get into like your 5th season, you kind of start adding longer storylines.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if Strange New World did that. I think it could happen organically without people going, "Oh no, now you're changing how you're doing." They're going to give us, I think, 5 seasons of relatively standalone, adventure episodes. But I would not be surprised if it all trends towards longer storylines that eventually get really involved. And that'd be fine. That's Star Trek too.
Joe Tansel says, Strange New Worlds did a good job of putting its own spin on classic tropes.
True.
Now it's time to come up with some totally unique concepts. And I got to ask you, Captain, is that kind of a difficult endeavor, being sandwiched in between Discovery and those old scientists, to come up with something that's unique that doesn't really get a reference elsewhere in other different shows?
It is. What would I do? I guess what I would do is I would try to find everything in the Next Generation that they feel like they know that is set in stone, and then see if I could get these really obscure things that they know about, like in an upcoming episode on Starbase 80, we're going to be making early reference to the Talarians.
Mm-hmm.
The Talarians show up twice that I know of in TNG. They know the Talarians, though. They know of them. So like we could run into them as an example. There are little pieces of broken pottery in Next Generation that we could engineer. We could reverse engineer and see more of what happened then with this or that. Will we see Vulcans? Probably not. Will we see Romulans? Most definitely not. So it's probably going to have to be new stuff to address that. And hey, I think we're open to it on this show. Absolutely.
And maybe we all praise Takufmach. It was a real Klingon. Not that crap that Worf is, I tell you.
Oh, you and your hatred for Worf. What?
Because I'm teasing that upcoming episode of Starbase 80, our sister show. We're going to go through a Worf-centric episode. Was it Heart of Man? Gold of Man? What's it called, John?
Heart of Glory. It's
whatever.
First Klingon story told in the Next Generation. Very exciting.
That's going to be on Starbase 80 this Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be a pre-recorded episode because I'm still going to be hungover for my birthday party celebrations. Yeah, for birthday Saturday, baby. Before we get out of here, Captain John, if someone want to hit you up, contact you, be your friend on that interwebs, how they go about doing that?
I haven't mentioned this in a long time, but on Twitter, there's at Starbase 80, all one word. And man, Kevin Richardson's joining you on this crusade against Worf. Damn, Flobo. Kevin Richardson says Worf equals worst father ever. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's worth exploring. So that's what we'll be doing. I will be running that.
You apologist. Give him a chance. I don't know.
And then get me talking about my own father and see how forgiving I am then. I miss you, Dad. He's gone. And I would say I miss you, Dad, but honestly, I miss you, Dad. This Sunday we'll be talking about Heart of Glory and giving you a little bit of the story behind the character of Worf. It's not what you may think. You may have some wrong ideas. You might learn something from me and Mr. Boyce. I will be running that video, and so we will be able to get comments up on the screen, but it will be pre-recorded.
And speaking of Father's Day, my second favorite line in the episode was when we get that one angry line from Mbenga that made me go, damn. And he says, I quote, "You shall not touch my daughter, or I'll bring the might of my kingdom down upon your heads." Oh, shit.
I believed
I
that
pooped my pants.
1000%. You do not poke the lion and expect the lion to not roar.
Commander's Log is supposed to be a Star Trek show. We sit here, we talk jokes for an hour, and we make sure we get the episode covered on some level. We'll be back here next week with episodes 9, and the week after that, episode 10, where Joe Towns will be on the season finale. Can't wait for that. Thank you so much for rocking with us. I know there's many Star Trek shows out there. You hang with us. Please share the program if you're a fan. Available wherever you stream, and of course on that podcast service of choice. Don't follow me. Share the show for this week because I'm gonna go get myself litty for my birthday, y'all.
And don't forget, for his birthday, you can buy Flobo's book, Graduation Day. You can also become one of his patrons on Patreon.
That's true. Patreon.com/FloboBoy. It's so weird when someone else promotes it. I don't know. I was like, if you want to, it's Patreon.com/FloboBoys, but it's okay. I mean,
I want everyone to join me as one of your patrons. It's one of my favorite things.
That would be the best birthday present ever. Patreon.com/FloboBoys. We call it the Boisterous Crew because everyone loves puns. But until next Thursday, Captain, say the words.
You beautiful nerds. LLAP.